Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Zone. This is our 6th episode, and I'm going to be at least quite... I'm going to be frank, this is not going to be like a really long episode. It's going to be relatively short.
But it is going to be controversial as shit.
It is, and we're not going to talk about CM Punk talking with WWE. There was a lot of other things going on, but really...
there's a ton going on.
But there's one thing that's very important that I think that's...
Are you excited about next week as I am? God, next week is probably going to be the best
it's gonna be one of
wrestling.
Ever.
Like, yeah.
Probably ever.
I mean, seriously.
It's going to be one of the most interesting, compelling, and amazing weeks in wrestling.
So if you're a wrestling fan, you have dates next week. Just cancel everything.
Monday through literally Monday through Friday.
Oh, no, there's even Saturday shows. Monday through Saturday.
What's a Saturday show?
I don't know, but I think there's some shows on Saturday.
Anyway,
might be
so
like
our
WWE or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Who knows?
The topic tonight is of Daniel Benoit, who we actually met. Nice guy. I will say that. But he has made his intention and his interest on signing with AEW.
Yep.
But he's not just any second-generation wrestler. He is not only the second-generation wrestler of one of the best technical wrestlers of all time, but one of the most infamous wrestlers of all time.
Yep. So, what... my big question, I guess, going into this show is, can he create a legacy separate from the legacy of his father? And I don't think he can. I honestly don't think that he...
Really?
I honestly don't think that he will have the capacity to surpass his father because of the actions.
Now, wait. Okay. I was going to say, is that because of his wrestling, or is it because of what...
It's because what Chris Benoit did literally transcends...
Wrestling. This was... At that time, I remember the entire week of Chris Benoit passing.
It was literally the end. That was the end of Ruthless Aggression. That was the end.
Yep.
That was it.
And, like I said...
That's why they're PG.
Now, you can play devil's advocate all you want. I believe that David. I think it said Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel's the son that he killed.
Yes. So, yes, Chris Benoit... it's still alleged. They have not yet proven that he actually did this.
Well,
it's alleged.
Well, of course it is. There aren't video cameras around the house, but
they can't prove without a reasonable doubt that he actually did this.
But David, we're not talking about what Chris did or did
David Benoit is going
into wrestling with this hanging over his shoulder.
Can he break himself out of the Chris Benoit shadow?
And I don't think he can.
I think he can.
Nope.
I think he can.
I don't think so.
Why?
Because the way that wrestling is today is that there are not the breakout stars. I mean... I'm comparing it to other people who were more notable that had passed on. I'm talking like the Vicky Guerrero. I mean, Vicky Guerrero never, ever broke out of Eddie Guerrero's...
You don't think so?
No.
I will actually argue with that. I think she did.
I don't think so. I think that everyone knew her as Eddie Guerrero's
widow. Yeah, of course. But why would she be against anything else? She wasn't married until after she left. She was a Guerrero, and she still is a Guerrero. But she did not divorce Eddie.
But it was hard enough for her to break out, despite what happened to Eddie. What happened to Chris was so significant to the wrestling business that I don't think that David can break out of that. I think that will hang over.
I think if he didn't look almost exactly like Chris, that'd be totally different.
I mean,
no,
you probably could get away with like changing your name from Benoit to something else, but there's something about what Chris did at the end of his life.
I will say, at least argumentative is a part of him not being able to break out. He looks fucking exactly like his dad.
Oh, I know. That just makes it worse.
We saw him at the StarCast with Double or Nothing. We met the guy. Cool guy. Like,
I don't
honestly,
care. No one cares about if he's cool or not.
No,
he
but
cannot break out of his father's shell, unfortunately.
He is a skinny version of his dad. They're twins.
There is nothing. So why we're talking about this is because he is thinking about signing with All Elite Wrestling.
He has expressed the interest on doing so.
Now, do you think that All Elite Wrestling is going to hire him?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
And why is that? Why do you think that AEW would not only hire him but take a risk in hiring a Benoit? Because I think that hiring a Benoit carries with it a little bit of that risk.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I totally get it. But there are two lines of thought with this.
Okay.
The professional wrestling fan in its entirety is a lot more forgiving than I think you expect. Scott Hall was a very big wrestler, and he still is to this day with his son Cody wrestling. Scott Hall legitimately murdered somebody. He was acquitted, but he did it.
Right.
We cannot prove without a shadow of a doubt that Chris Benoit did this. It's alleged, even to this day. It's alleged.
But we're not talking about the double murder suicide.
No, it's literally what it is. What Chris Benoit supposedly did is going to dictate his entire family's entire trajectory in their history.
Pretty much.
David Benoit has to live with what his dad supposedly did. I'm saying this not.
And you think it's a conspiracy theory? Do you think it's a conspiracy theory?
I think that the United States was built on the innocent until proven guilty. Chris Benoit, even in the archives of what it was, and you can look it up anywhere because it's actually a Freedom of Information Act. It's alleged. It's an alleged double murder suicide.
Unless there were cameras in the house, there's no way to ever prove that.
Exactly.
However,
it's alleged.
However,
I am still about the fact that it is innocent until proven guilty. We can prove that Scott Hall killed somebody because that happened. And
how do you know it happened? Were there video cameras?
Yes, there was eyewitnesses. There were only 4 people in this world that would know exactly what happened in that house on that weekend.
Anyways.
Daniel, Nancy, Chris, and the Lord above of any kind that you can possibly think of.
But so that's fine.
David Benoit, if good enough, I think can carve out his own history and make something of him.
I don't think it's going to happen though.
Why?
Because I don't think that David is as good as his dad.
We haven't seen him.
He's not ever going. Chris Benoit was in a league of his own when he came to technical wrestling. And the Benoit name has I don't care if you think that it is alleged or whatever you say.
It's been tarnished. It
has absolutely been tarnished forever.
Did I ever say that the Benoit name in the realm of professional wrestling has not been tarnished?
Oh, that has been tarnished.
Oh, dude,
beyond repair.
That is the Hitler equivalent of anything in the world.
Oh, seriously, yeah. Unlike the Guerreros, because the Guerreros, they have a history that is beyond Eddie. And so that's why people will still carry on the Guerrero name.
But Eddie Guerrero didn't kill somebody.
Right.
He died of a heart failure.
Right.
That's a different situation.
Exactly.
You need to actually think of people that were in the industry that have done something that could be. Yes.
No one has.
Yes, there is. What about the Von Erichs?
The Von Erichs, there are very few Von Erichs who are still in wrestling.
There's literally one that is living.
And even then, they didn't murder other people.
What about Jake the Snake Roberts' dad? He raped Jake the Snake Roberts' mom when she was 12 years old.
Again, that was a whole different era.
I mean, it still is, but
are there Jake Snake Roberts descendants wrestling still? I mean,
Jake the Snake Roberts, one, isn't dead. I know he has a daughter for a fact.
Right, but my point is that no one has done something as infamous as Chris Benoit.
I never denied that, of course.
And I don't think, because of the times that we're in, I don't think that anyone can associate anyone with that family without mentioning Chris.
Oh, of course not.
And that is why I don't think that Daniel Benoit or David Benoit will get out of that shadow. I think that there's something about that family.
If David Benoit keeps his name, which, to be honest, I think he will, he can still carve out his own history and do something for his name.
I think he can, but I don't think he can redeem the Benoit name.
Well, of course not. I don't think that's his goal.
Well, I understand that, but I think that there is a stigma attached to it. I think that a lot of people...
Do you think people will disavow David Benoit for the actions of his father?
I think that in a way, they will judge him based on that, yes. Because people are that narrow.
I know, but that's unfortunate. The sins of the father should not be bestowed upon the son.
Well, yeah.
What if David Benoit was actually a really good wrestler and he was safe and, to us personally, he was a kind man. He was very nice. He was very respectful. He had a big-ass head, but that's, just beside the point. What the fuck was that?
Well, I'm going to wait for you to stop talking about your personal experience with the guy, because we're not talking about that.
There has not been a person that I have heard that has said anything different about David Benoit. I think if he does sign with AEW, he's not going to be signed with WWE any fucking time soon. Let's put it that way.
No, WWE is never going to sign a Benoit.
And
that's never going to happen.
That's nothing against him, but to the views of the company, that's going to be totally different.
Oh, the company will never, ever sign a Benoit.
But I'm going to go with the thing of Eric Bischoff and his famous words, controversy creates cash. Look at Nyla Rose, the first transgender woman to go after a actual women's champion on a major North American promotion ever in the history of the world.
So you think that because of AEW's history of controversy, they are going to
they have a better chance of hiring him. Now, I think AEW, to be honest, has more of a I think David Benoit will be signed on the merit of his performance, not on the merit of his name.
Well, yeah, of course, because that's the AEW way of doing it.
If David Benoit is not to the standards of All Elite Wrestling, they won't sign him.
Right.
But if they do sign him, he is good within his own merits. We cannot say that David Benoit will keep his name, but the fact that he looks so similar to his dad, people are going to immediately put him to it. And that's nothing that's nothing he can control.
Right. So I guess it comes down to this question. What in your opinion does David Benoit need to do to create a name for himself? What does he need to do to break out of that shadow?
This is my thing. I believe that he can never be truly out of the shadow of his father. Chris Benoit, whether you like his actions on the last weekend of his life or not, regardless, Chris Benoit has been noted as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. I will even sit here and say, Chris Benoit, even to this day, was one of my favorite professional wrestlers. He was so good at his craft as a professional wrestler. David Benoit has an uphill battle. But with the right moveset, with the right personality, I think that you can separate David Benoit against Chris Benoit. Personally.
Okay.
Bret Hart and Stu Hart. Bret Hart was a great technical wrestler, and if you did not think that he could stand outside of Stu Hart, you're fucking crazy.
But he did.
Owen Hart. People don't see Owen Hart as a Hart family. People see Owen Hart as a potential that was wasted on outside circumstances that nobody can control.
So it comes down to this: what does David need to do to break out of the shadow?
He needs. This is a shot in the dark, but I think he's young enough to do this. He needs to be a better wrestler overall than his father.
That is an uphill battle.
That's why I said, well, not only of what his father did, and not only for the technical prowess of Chris Benoit and what he did, because you can hate Chris Benoit all you want, but if you sit here and tell me that he's not one of the greatest professional wrestlers ever, you are not a wrestling fan.
Well, of course, we're not disputing the fact.
That's the uphill. That's the battle.
That's the battle.
If he can be just as good technically as his father, but be a better character, guess what? He can outshine his dad. I think.
But that is hard.
David,
that's like trying to outshine John Cena or The Undertaker. I mean, that is the level of technicality and professional athleticism that you need. I mean, that is really that is difficult to do.
And hell, maybe we'll do an actual episode on Chris Benoit as a retrospective, because there was a lot about Chris Benoit's case that is incredibly important.
Damn, I wish we got David to chime in on this episode.
That'd be great. It might be easier said than done, because really what we're saying is, can David Benoit break out of the shadow of his father? And I told you this in the car earlier today, even, where David Benoit, he is in a very unique circumstance. There have been professional wrestlers that have killed people. There are professional wrestlers that have been great, where it was hard enough to get out of that shadow. But David Benoit has the uphill battle of being a part of the most infamous professional wrestler who was extraordinary of all
and
time.
See, that's what separates Chris Benoit from the rest, is that if Chris Benoit stayed as a lower
If he was any other schmuck, that'd be different.
Right. But
this is Chris fucking Benoit.
I mean, he was literally a multi-time world champion.
He was. There will never be another Chris Benoit.
No, but
as a part of technical wrestling.
So do you think that at some point in time, I mean, I think this is early on, I think that there is some aspect of David where he needs to kind of embrace that side of his legacy, that he is carrying the family name of the same gentleman who, no matter what you say, allegedly or not, was the catalyst. His actions was the catalyst of the changing of an entire era of professional wrestling.
If David Benoit doesn't embrace that, he will fail. He has to.
At least parts of it. And I think
if he says, this is the way to do this, and I am going to say this, if David Benoit listens to our show or not, I don't care. This is how he does it. Yes, I am the son of Chris Benoit. There is no getting around that. And with this internet age, people will find that even if he denies it.
Right.
This
is the age of the internet.
unless he is under a full goddamn mask.
There is no way.
There's no way. He looks too much like his father. Yeah. For me, if I was in David Benoit's shoes at this point in time, I would say, I am the son of Chris Benoit. My actions in this ring are not merited by the actions of my father. I fight for my mother-in-law, for my brother-in-law. I fight for the Benoit name.
Right.
That's how you do it. It's easy. People have sympathy for Nancy and Daniel, and he can do this. Is it manipulative? Yes. But honestly, unless he's under a full-blown mask, there is no other way to do it.
So, going off that, what role do you think that AEW, if he signed with AEW, what role can the company AEW, because I know there are some AEW wrestlers that listen to our podcast.
Yep.
What role do you see AEW or any potential wrestling promotion playing in helping this character develop?
If I was Tony Khan, excuse me, sorry, I had a burp. If I was Tony Khan and I signed David Benoit to a contract, I would treat him as any other wrestler. You work for your spot. You know why? Because then people will not criticize David for going off of his father, and people won't criticize you as the person running the show, as somebody who's using that name to get publicity.
Right.
Treat him as any other wrestler. Even if you have to say you need to work up to the spot to going against like a John Moxley, Chris Jericho, whatever, for the AEW champion, that will build David Benoit as a competitor, as a stand-alone competitor. That is the only way.
And I agree with you. And I agree
Even
with that.
even if he's in the tag division,
Right.
have him work for it. Have him paired up with like fucking Jason Jordan, Kurt Angle's son, and have them do something cool. That'd be fucking cool as fuck.
But I'm not. What I'm saying is, what role? I mean, obviously I understand the whole factor of treating him like any other wrestler, but how do you get over the fact that fans? I mean, I guess there is no getting over the fact that fans are going to forever associate him.
Exactly.
So you ignore it. Essentially, you ignore the hate, you ignore the controversy, you ignore everything.
Exactly.
And treat David Benoit like any other wrestler on the roster.
Yep. If he's good, then great. He will be in line because people will get behind David Benoit for his wrestling acclimate, not his name. Now, I would love to see David Benoit succeed, but if he doesn't, then you don't associate him with any more.
Right.
That's the only way to do this. Because if people see you giving him special treatment, is because, oh, you're supporting the son of a murderer. Despite whatever you think. It's hard. It's
really hard to break that, and I
if he looked nothing like his dad, it'd be a totally different story.
Yeah, they could.
But he looks so much like his dad in so many ways.
And with this magical thing called Wikipedia, you can actually look up a person's real name, so it doesn't even matter anymore.
Right. That's the only way to do it. You need to do it based on the talent and merit of David Benoit as a competitor, as a performer, as an actor.
Who is standalone.
Right. That's the only way to do it right now. You can't smoke and mirrors this anymore.
Right.
You have to do it based on the crowd's reaction. If they like David Benoit, then it doesn't matter.
So
if you feel that he is the rightful number one contender because he gets the most reactions, he puts on the best matches, he gets praise from every news media source in the world, he is the obvious number one contender.
Well, yeah, that's obvious.
That is the only way to do it at this point.
So,
especially with David. I would have said this 10 years ago.
Right. And obviously so what about, AEW is fine and well, but do you think that WWE would ever hire David Benoit?
If he got big enough, if he made a big enough name for himself, if you ask me this 10 years ahead, maybe.
I don't see it happening ever.
Is it because if he made a name under the name David Benoit, he has to be David Benoit?
No, because
he looks too much like his dad. He has to be under a mask if he wants to pull this off.
Yep, and even then they will know. It's like, why are you hiring Benoit? Your dad literally killed
It will always create controversy, and he will always have this uphill battle if he wants to be a professional wrestler.
I don't
Life in general. It's like, oh, what about if Jeffrey Dahmer had a kid? What about Ted Bundy's daughter? Do you not think that if people knew that girl was Ted Bundy's biological daughter, don't you think that's an uphill battle for any position that you have? Of course it is.
Course.
David Benoit has that.
It's almost like having someone go into politics whose last name was Hitler.
Right. Or even associated as a part of like family history, even if it's a distant ancestor of Adolf Hitler. It's hard.
It's like you want to run in Germany for government, and you were associated with him. It's like
right.
No, I don't care how good. I mean, there comes a point where it's like I think that there are some powers that are like new.
No, there's a point, I believe, if David Benoit is just as good, if not better than his dad, he can overshadow it.
I think so, but that's a really hard battle. And
it's a hard battle to do, especially with somebody as gifted as Chris Benoit was.
Yeah.
A hard worker as Chris was.
Yeah.
And to the person who he was around the wrestling business. Yeah. Look at what Chris Jericho has said. Look at what Nancy's sister said on his podcast, where Chris Benoit was praised everywhere.
Yep.
And this was consistent about being a very respectful, a very traditional-based performer, even backstage. Daniel wore suits because Chris Benoit wanted that, because that's the respectful thing to do.
Right.
It's hard to overshadow, but I think it can be done.
I can never say never, but
right.
Do I think it's going to happen? I give it about a 1% shot, because I think the hardest thing...
But there's a chance that he can do it.
The hardest thing to overcome is the fact that Chris Benoit was so gifted as an athlete.
And what he did after the fact totally changed the landscape of wrestling.
And that's hard. That's like saying that, oh, well, it's like... It's hard. It's hard. There's no comparison to it.
His
actions literally changed an era of professional wrestling.
Us sitting here is not saying that Daniel Benoit should totally give up professional wrestling.
No, he should embrace it.
He has to. That's the only way to succeed. Saying, I am the son of Chris Benoit, but watch me wrestle, and you will see that I am nothing like my father. I am better.
Yeah.
That's legitimately the only way to do this without... I mean, there's going to be some people who are going to hate on you, obviously. But if you put this guy in the ring as every other wrestler, they're going to see you not getting special treatment. You're going to be judged on the merits of your in-ring ability. Yep. And then guess what? If David Benoit is a great wrestler, we talk about him every goddamn week on this show, and we think that he deserves a world title match, that's on David Benoit's merits, not the fact that he is Chris Benoit's oldest son.
And that's the beauty of AEW, is I think that AEW will look past and
this will be his best shot.
Exactly. And will WWE ever hire him?
Maybe.
I mean, I give a lot of doubt to it.
It can happen.
Crazy.
You never know. I mean, Chris Benoit is talking with WWE. CM Punk is talking with WWE about hiring them. Now, that is fucking bonkers. And I would never thought in a million years that was going to be the case.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But it's a thing that's happening.
Oh, do you also hear that Mickey James doing commentary in Main Event?
Yes. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Anyways, so...
I think I have said everything.
Yeah, let us know what your opinions are.
And David, this is a special message to you. I want you to go for it.
Do it.
We met you and we like you. You're a cool guy. No. Just
do it. I don't care what our opinions are of you, but
this is opinion based show. Fuck you. This is our podcast.
I get that, but
if he was a fucking asshole, I would say fuck you. Give up, bitch.
No, I get that.
Go and grab some pillows and fuck the fuck off. But I'm not gonna say that. Well, I did, but that's beside the point.
Should. I mean, no, not grappling. Wow. Okay. No. Not
Boys and
grappling.
Bibles.
They're half off from Ardell.
There's literally not enough alcohol in the world. What you need, Daniel, this is my message to you. Prove everyone wrong.
Yeah. Make your name.
Your father's name does not dictate on how you do. If you bust your goddamn ass and you're one of the best professional wrestlers of the 22nd goddamn century, nobody's going to care about your father.
22nd century, I think everyone here will be dead.
I'm obviously being facetious. If
You
you are one of the
21st
best,
century.
whatever. If I said facetious, you weirdo. Be the best wrestler you can be, and you can overshadow your dad ever. But you need to embrace that Benoit name at this point. You have to.
Yeah.
You can't avoid it. You can't.
Nope.
If Chris Benoit was still like Pegasus Kid or whatever, maybe you can get away with it.
Well, yeah, of course, yes. But, yeah, there's this...
He went after his name, and everybody remembers him. You need to overshadow your father, and I know that's a that's a big hill to climb, but there's no other way.
First, you need to embrace, and then you need to overshadow. But first, you need to set yourself up. You need to set yourself up for the hate. You need to set yourself up for for all the people that are like, why are you doing this? AEW, you guys need to set yourself up for all the controversy that follows.
If this is going to go through.
But if it works out, then you're in a gold mine.
And guess what? Jesus Christ. Can you not?
Yeah, can you not burp? Jesus.
Can you not grab your crotch? There's
sorry.
nothing there. Anyway. So.
What? There's a third leg.
I speak for myself. I don't know about Peanut Gallup, but I speak for myself. If you go into this industry, you are David Benoit.
Yeah.
I will not. It's going to be hard to. But if you are good as a part of the merits of today, I'm going to give you all the praise in the world. But just keep in mind, there are people who are going to compare you to your father.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We grew up watching your father. And he was one of my favorite wrestlers ever.
Yeah.
And he still is to this day. But if you're better, then you are the better Benoit. People are going to judge you compared to your father ever.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that I'm not going to, because guess what? I honestly, I think inherently I am. I compare Charlotte to Ric Flair. I compare Andrade Cien Almas to his uncle. I compare anybody
you
to
judgmental bastard.
I am.
God.
This is wrestling, bitch.
I didn't even know that Andrade had an uncle who wrestled.
He's Mexican. Of course he did. Rey Mysterio's uncle was the original Rey Mysterio.
What about the dog?
But yes, do the best you can. Ignore the haters. Prove people wrong.
Pull a Greta Thunberg. I don't fucking care about you.
Exactly.
Here's stats about my win-loss record.
Right.
Boom.
So I think I have covered everything that I wanted to.
My jizz bunker is pretty much dried up here.
And he's going to clean that. Well, thank you guys. Well, hey guys, so this is only going to be this is the only part of the show. We're not going to do a two-parter. We're actually going to be heading to Las Vegas to sign our final paperwork on Sunday. So this is going to be your Sunday show.
To the beat.
Right?
Yep.
So, Peanut Gallery is fine.
It's done.
Yes. So, if you guys enjoyed it, remember to share it with your friends. We're on basically any social media platform that you could possibly think of.
And we will announce our next show. Probably not tonight, but sometime the next week. We'll let you guys know what we're going to discuss. But it will be raunchy and it will be controversial.
Well, no, we have to talk about Hell in a Cell at the very least. That's next week. Not next week, but the week after.
Yeah, I thought it was the week after. But anyways, if you like this, please share with everyone, like everything, and subscribe to everything that you possibly can.
We want to hear from you as well.
Yes.
Let us know what you think about the David Benoit situation as a part of AEW, as a part of North American wrestling and wrestling in general. If he can do it.
Yeah.
I got a ton of really interesting responses from the last show on my Twitter, so definitely keep those rolling in. I love seeing it.
Absolutely. And you know, if you guys have any questions or want us to discuss any topics, let us know. Both of us have Twitter accounts. We'd love to hear your guys' suggestions.
Links are in the description on every platform. I've even checked. So, yes.
Excellent.
And, become a patron. There is a link for it in the description where if we get enough patrons, we'll watch the show live and give our instant reaction just for you guys. And we have a ton of other content like throwback shows and different discussions. Maybe we'll bring in some guests to do outside shows that have never seen wrestling.
Yep.
We've been talking about it, so we'll continue. And if you do want to support it, $1 a month is great. And if you want to support it more, you get some cool shit. So thank you for watching. And as always, be majestic.
Peace.